Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Guess nobody can hear me. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting signal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us here. Excuse me. Thanks so much for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. It was so weird. I didn't I didn't even change anything. I didn't even turn anything on or off. I just went and I turned that on and turned it back off, and now the mic's working. It's just so strange. Yeah, I was aware it wasn't working from the jump street. I mean, I was looking at the VU meters as soon as I started talking. They weren't going up, so I was sitting there going, okay, well, let me see if I can fix this. And all I did was turn the mic on, turn the mic back off, and boom, lo and behold, here we are. So thanks so much for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. It is Monday, May the 21st into Tuesday, May the 22nd, 2012, and we are live here with you for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast here on the Global Reality Radio Network. So we thank you so much for being with us and appreciate your continued listenership and being out there and telling people about the show and the films and what we're trying to do here. So thanks so much to everybody for being out there. Well, that's good to hear. It's good to hear something positive for once. John Doe in the chat room says that the voice is clear. Yeah, we there was actually I figured out what the problem was. I think this was probably the problem the whole time. Apparently, Sam Broadcaster for the longest time, which is a program that most people use when they do this kind of radio and stuff. Sam Broadcaster for the longest time did not have support for dual core processors and anything over, it just didn't work right. And there was a free upgrade that was available that I found online, and you didn't have to re-register it or anything else of that nature, and it just upgraded the one you already had. And boy, it's been working super great since then. So I think we may have found a winner here. I think it's running pretty smooth. And now we're using the lame MP3 encoders, so it should sound the audio quality. I definitely could tell tonight pre-show that the music was sounding better than it ever had. How's it sounding out there to you guys tonight? Is it sounding distorted or no distortion? Sounds great, really? Okay. Yeah, I was thinking I started listening back to it, and I could tell that where people were describing as distortion was actually the garbledness of the the crappy encoders. because it wouldn't allow the lame encoders to work with a dual core processing system. So it would never allow that so I could never, the whole time I've been, well, for the past couple of years, when I was running this off my old box, off the box I do news and stuff on, back when I used to run the network off that, yeah, it used to sound really great because we had the lame encoders then. But when I switched the network box back in 2010, when I switched the network box over to its own box, it was a different system, different type of system. Okay, thanks, man, Hydra. Appreciate that, dude. Yeah, good. I just want to make sure there was no distortion. Yeah. But anyway, it just kind of, everything totally changed when I got the network box. And so from the time that, I guess, 2010 till now, I have not been able to run the network with the good encoders. And now that we're running the good layman MP3 encoders again, the archives will sound much higher quality. This should sound much higher quality. I mean, you know, I'll listen to it. I'll go back and listen. As long as it's coming through loud and clear. I'm noticing that the VU meters seem to be down a little lower coming out of the stream. I don't know if that's making a difference to you guys or not. It's not. I mean, it's down lower than it was. I don't know if that could change, or I could make it better. I mean, I don't know. But I'll listen back to it, and we'll see what I think about it. But for now, I guess it sounds good, and we'll go with it. So there you go. Hope you had a nice weekend. I went to my niece's birthday over the weekend. And she turned 3. Oh man, she's a mess. It's awesome. But that was about it. I tried to, tear myself away from working on the film and doing research and stuff. I just couldn't do it. There was just no way. I'm obsessed. I'm past the fucking point of no return here, man. It's just I'm just, mind continually being blown. Paradigm reshifting yet again. I'm just going to call it a reshifting of the paradigm. My paradigm was already shifted a long time ago, but now it's being reshifted all over again. And I'm really going to try to do this movie in a different way. It's very difficult to, find new ways to present information, but I'm really trying to do this film kind of in kind of a chronological order of how I found out about the information according to how I was doing the research. You know what I mean? Like what starting the film out with what got me started on this research, which of course is the rock wall. We're going to be, starting out talking about some of that, and then my research into what, trying to find out if it indeed is a man-made formation, which I believe it is, and which the scientific community says it isn't, because they're basing their assumption on bad information, because they didn't have, when that assumption was created and held within the scientific community that stands to this day, they did not have access to the Landsat images or ground-penetrating radar images or any of that stuff, and so what they thought they were identifying as a wall, because it very much does look like a wall at some points, was actually some of these formations within inside of the wall that turn out to be, in a lot of cases, actual natural formations. There's natural sandstone formation. It's very strange, very convenient almost. You know what I mean? Almost like somebody, I hate to be conspiratorial about everything, but it almost gives you the impression that somebody way back when knew that, because it's just so coincidental to me that inside of the wall proper, inside of it, you have all these natural sandstone formations that exist inside of this massive, obviously unnatural wall. And so that has caused quite a bit of cognitive dissonance and quite a bit of confusion within the science community. So we're going to be showing setting that record straight. And then we're going to be getting into further looking into, okay, if it was man-made, then okay, who was it? Who built it? Who was here? Who had this technology? Who were these people? Which led me then into the idea, after reading some of the old Rockwell newspapers, about hearing about these giant skeletons that they found, hearing about these slate roofs that they cracked and then went down in and found giant skeletons buried. You have identical stories in Ohio where they found giants buried, in other places. So that also led me to my knowledge of, Rockwall. Been growing up living in this area, North Texas, in and around Rockwall my whole life. I've never lived in Rockwall, but, within 10, 15 minutes of it my whole life. Knowing, the area of downtown and knowing the landscape. And this is the black land prairie, the flat land up here, man. There's not hills and valleys and shit like that here, or mountains at all. It's flat, boring land up here. And there are, specifically centered in the downtown Rockwall area, there's lots of, they just can't be described as anything but elevation anomalies. There's elevation anomalies. There's some areas that go above 600 feet sea level and then drop back down in the Rockwall area. And so, including this, giant fuck-off house I'm going to get video and stuff of for the film that I believe is built on top of a giant mound. I believe the Rockwall Courthouse downtown is built on a mound. Coincidentally enough, under that Rockwall Courthouse, there's a tunnel that goes down about 2 miles underground, a rock line tunnel that goes from where the old courthouse is all the way down about 2 miles down to where the Trinity River is. And so that led me into my research of, okay, if there's possible mounds and they found these giants, and then I started finding out, oh my gosh, giants and mounds, they relate together, and my goodness, and that's led me on and on and on. So I'm really going to try to put that stuff in the film chronologically, because I think it works, or the way that I've been working on the film, so I think it works best that way, to go in that order, because then it's going to make the most sense to you, because you're going to see the logic trail that I'm taking here. You know what I mean? And I think that I've been, just because I didn't really have a choice, and I'm working on very tight budgets and very, time schedules and all that stuff. I don't think I've really done that in my films in the past. I've just kind of, it's a throw up. It's just a, get the information out there. Blah, you got to get it out there. Go, go, go. Here it is. Somebody the other day was pointing out something from the Julian Assange video where I said something about burning them at the stake or something like that. Somebody, they didn't know what he actually got burned at the stake. You made a mistake there. And, what's different about that film, or that Julian Assange thing that I did, that was actually cut from a radio show, and I cut that from a radio broadcast and made the video thing around it. That's quite a bit different than what I do for doing voiceovers for the films. Nothing even makes it to a voiceover unless it's been researched and vetted and looked at 18 times to Sunday. In the case with that Julian Assange reality of illusion thing, that was just something I did quick. I needed to get the information out there. I did the same thing with the newest one, the Secrets of the Sun. And that's going to happen. There's going to be little mistakes in there sometimes. You got to forgive me when it comes to those kind of things, because live radio is kind of different. Stuff it's rapid fire. And, yes, you're going to say things the wrong way. And, I made a mistake about burning at the stake. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I need to make sure that I let everybody know I'm guilty there. But, you got to cut me some slack on that, because radio show stuff is live and it's popping fast. It's very different than the process in which, I'm doing with these films. And, so yeah, I've already got, I don't even have the script written or done yet, because I don't even have the research done yet. I'm still swimming in info over here, man. Still trying to comprehend, make sense of all this and get it all together, because it's just like it's happened to me in the past. I'll be on a schedule to have a film done, be on a schedule to get it out and stuff like that. But just consequently, as a result of doing the research, new information comes out that has to go on the film. The reason it happens like that, and has to happen like that, and people say, well, just stop researching then, just make this the film. And you don't get it if you say that to me. And I've had people send me emails and say it to me, and you just don't get it. Sometimes I'll have my understanding of something, and I'll have it, scripted and ready and ready to put it in a film. And then my perspective and my belief and my understanding of that particular thing changes because of new information. So I can't just put out a film and just go, well, here you go. I'm going to put out what I thought it was at this time. No, that's wrong, because that would drive me absolutely crazy. How can I put out a movie when I already have information that's changed that understanding that I have? So that's the thing is that, I have to take that approach sometimes with these movies, is to say, yes, it's good to have a deadline. It's good to be shooting for that deadline. I still am shooting for my July launch deadline, even though, because of lack of funds, and because we only have, another 2 weeks or so left on this week and next week left on our budget chip for the film, I'm kind of starting to get worried I may get put back here. But I think we had one of our listeners say that they would be willing to throw in like $1,000 if somebody did that. I heard some of these public broadcast stations lately here in Dallas doing fundraisers, and I kind of thought that was a good idea. And somebody had said that in an email. I think it was Scott, maybe. Somebody said something, if somebody else would pitch in, they would match, such and such amount. I've heard the local station doing that. It seems to be a good thing to do. So, if one person says, okay, look, there's this much left on the budget. If you guys get, if somebody pledges $1,000, I'll match that donation with another $1,000. Or if somebody pledges $500, I'll match that pledge with another $500. So I've already had a couple of people actually say they wanted to do that. So I think there are a couple of people out there that want to do that. But we do need the help on that. So this week, for the chip and banners, don't worry about putting anything in the operating cost chip and banner. We'll worry about that next week for our fundraising week. This week, let's just concentrate on the film chip and banner. I mean, I feasibly need a few $100 in here this week. I've got to make a trip out to Rockwall. I got to go I haven't done any shooting out there in Rockwall yet for the film, and I do have to do some preliminary shooting out there. I should be able to get it all done in a day, but it costs expenses and money and all that stuff to get out there and do it, and you got to pay people for the time and all that stuff. Take them to lunch. I mean, I get friends that will go out and help me, but I got to pay for everything. It's just the way it is. That's when you get somebody to do work for you. That's how it is. So please help us out there so we can stay on track with this. I think I'm going to have to, probably in June is going to be kind of like I did in Secret Right 2. June is probably going to be the month that I'm going to be scaling back the shows a bit, because I'm kind of at that point I was at, because I took about a month off in October to finish Secret Right 2. And that was the best thing I could have done, because when you have a space of time where you can just get in the headspace, where I can just get in the headspace of working on a film, I don't have to worry about my energy being pulled for the radio show, and I got to worry about, okay, I've got to set aside 3 or 4 hours of my day today just for news gathering, when I could be spending that time getting farther on the film. You know what I mean? And just even taking a week off sometimes and just maybe doing like one show a week and just, or maybe no shows in a week. and just concentrating on the film. I get so much done. I don't get a lot of sleep. I didn't get, I burned all kinds of all-nighters on that. But it's, it's all worth it when it's all done, and, and you get to see it, and I get to watch it. But I've already got, not even having the voiceovers and the script done and all that stuff yet, I already have an hour. I can't believe this. I already have an hour of film cut, edited. I've even got some clips from television shows in there. I didn't know if I was going to have any of those, and I talked about that before. I didn't know if I was going to have any clips from, news, not really news clips, but, well, there is one or two in there. But stuff from media, stuff from television shows, things like that. History Channel, Discovery, things like that. But there's consequently been several choice pieces of footage that I've pulled that tie in with this research, and I've gotten the film. So somebody who doesn't make films or doesn't understand the process probably is not too impressed with that. But at the stage I'm at in this game, considering that I'm still doing the research, and so there's still going to be more information to come, and considering that I don't even have what I've got done to the film so far doesn't even have anything about the rock wall in it yet at all. So I've got an hour of film cut right now, done. No music, no voiceover, nothing like that. And we don't have anything in there for the rock wall yet, and the mound stuff's not even done, and the bunch of the other stuff. I mean, I don't know. The volume one's looking probably. I mean, we're looking at probably at least 3 hours. I don't know, maybe more. We'll see. But I'm not going to put a cap on it. I'm not going to put a cap on this one at all. I'm going to go and go and go. I like to put. In the past, I've put caps on my film because I think it's insane to make somebody commit to watching, a fucking 7-hour film or something. But 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe. Hey, we'll have to see. But I think I'm not going to put a cap on it this time. In the past, I've because I try to make I want people to at least enjoy it. I don't want it to be so goddamn long. But with this, the subject matter is so fascinating. There's so much of it, and all of it's so relevant that there's really no reason for me to hold back. There's really no reason for me to, But I already have been doing some. I mean, I edit as I go. I'm not one of those people that just throws a bunch of stuff in there and then, spends all the time editing everything out or down. I edit as I go. You know what I mean? I cut and edit and put transitions and lower thirds and all that stuff. I'm doing that as I go. Because, it's the most difficult thing is trying to figure out a way to make it all flow and make the information palatable for people. But with this, I think it's going to be a lot more successful. I think it's going to be a lot more, because this is mind-blowing stuff, man. It's, people are going to have this in put to them in a way where they can understand it and get what's going on with it, because, I mean, it just goes against everything that most people of the world commonly believe to be the truth. I mean, it really does. But all these, a lot of these random things that I've seen through the years, and stuff that I've reported here on the show. September is coming in. September is going to be our 5th year anniversary. My goodness gracious. Half a decade already almost. Global Reality's been pounding out the truth here. And that's coming up in September, 5-year anniversary. And in that time, I've read quite a few stories and seen quite a few videos and stuff and covered, things about, I think it was like 2008, maybe 2009, I can't remember when. 2008, I think it was. They had found this Caucasian mummy. Red-haired Caucasian mummy in China. Buried with pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds of fucking sweetest Chiba. As a motherfucking Mary Jane. Oh, yeah, buried with pounds and pounds and pounds of it. I saw that shit and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. That's where that stuff came from. Giant red-haired Nephilim. Should have fucking known. Why did I even think any different? But, I'd seen stuff like that and covered those stories like that through the years and never knew what the relevance was until now. But now I get it. And now I understand. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. It's crazy. If you're planning on going out and getting video footage for me, any of these sites, I don't know, one person was going to go to Cahokia, wherever. I mean, I need it all. I need it in the next, next 3 weeks or so, as far as footage, whatever you can do. The more that I get, the cooler it's going to be. That's all I can say, I'd love to get as much footage as we can of some of these places, because I promise you, it's the more footage that we get of the different mound sites, the cooler the whole film's going to be. It's just going to make that whole section there just a lot more awesome. Cahokia, I'm just up and I don't know if that's if all the structures, I haven't been able to confirm that. I know that most of it at Cahokia, which is outside, it's in southern Illinois, outside of St. Louis, it's about 8 hours or so from where I live. But I know there that for years they were bulldozed, and there was a housing subdivision on top of them, and they went up for sale, and somebody bought it and rebuilt the mounds. But I don't know how many of the mounds were demolished, how many of them were rebuilt. But they do have the one out there, the Monk's Mound, which is bigger in its footprint than the Pyramid of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and I don't know if that's been rebuilt. I mean, it's interesting, and it's cool that they've marked that was there and stuff, but I'm kind of not interested in stuff that we've rebuilt. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's stuff that we've gone back and built up again, come on, that's just mountain dirt. That's not... But I understand, it had a significance and all that stuff, but it just, continues to be a ride, but we're coming up on limited time here. So, this week, let's just, any help we can get towards the film budget. I mean, large or small, that would be great this week. So I can, because I was starting to work and trying to, I was really buckling down on it last night going, okay, I'm ready to knock some shit out here and start working on the first part of the film and stuff. And then I realized that I can't even start the first part of the film until I get out to Rockwall and get some shooting done out there. So act accordingly, help us out if you can. TheGlobalReality.com is my website where this broadcast originates from. We do have some news tonight to get into, but not a whole lot. Thus, again, why we are starting later. Boy, the news has just been slim to none lately. I guess I assume everybody survived all the craziness, all the eclipses, and Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and Gozer the Gozerian, and G8, and Camp David, and dogs and cats living together, and all that shit that was going on this weekend, right? What did I tell you? I told you there's probably going to be some cataclysm. 6.2 magnitude earthquake in Italy. Fuck them Italians anyway. Flush them down the goddamn toilet with the Vatican. No, they're good Italian people out there. I don't mean that, but yeah, just flush the Vatican down and leave everybody else standing. How about that? That's fair enough, right? But please loot that fucking library before it goes down into a pit of hell. Thank you. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. I want to mention something just about donations and stuff because I didn't realize this happened. Last month, I had commented here on the show that we didn't get in. We were kind of at a red alert situation last month. What had happened was one of our regular supporters and donators that supports us every month and with no fail and has been for a while, and I just can't thank him enough for that. Accidentally sent a donation to a PayPal account associated with globalrealityshow@gmail.com, which is my email address. But the PayPal email address I use is dayglow, DAYGLOW 76 @yahoo.com. So I just want to put it out there for people because somebody else did that a few months ago with a DVD they bought. That is my account, but I really don't have. It took me forever to. I finally got into the account over the weekend, but before, when it happened with another listener, I wasn't able to get into the account. But anyway, I had set that account up and not ever done anything with it, and don't ever plan on doing anything with it because I already have a PayPal account, and I've had it for years, and it's all in good standing and all that stuff. So, for future reference, if you don't use one of the chipping banners, if you want to make a donation or something and you don't want it to be in the chipping banner, you don't want it to be a public amount, you don't want people to see what it is publicly, or you don't want to have to worry about the fees, you can go in and use the send money tab through PayPal and send it to dayglow76, DAYGLOW 76 @yahoo.com. And you can set it, personal or whatever like that. And it won't charge a fee. So just always remember, if you do that, if you do choose to do that option, I always put it out there just because some people have problems with chipping banners. Sometimes they won't work right. They're flash based. So You know how that is. Their fucking flash is shit. So that, sometimes that happens. But I just wanted to make sure that, but that's what had happened. We had gotten, that person had made a donation to the wrong email address. And I don't get notifications about that account, and I don't ever check it. So we actually had gotten a donation that would have helped us out last month, but I didn't end up getting it because I didn't, that was the wrong PayPal address. But I sent it back to the person and was able to get it all straightened out. And but yeah, it's no worries. I'm not mad at that person for doing that happen. I knew something was weird. You guys heard me saying that. I was like, something's up, man. Did I piss you off? That's what I thought. I was like, did that make you mad? I mean, if I pissed you off and you don't want to donate anymore, please just send me a message and tell me, goddammit. Don't leave me fucking hanging over here thinking I pissed you off. That's what I thought it was, I thought I'd made that person mad, and they've just been such a great supporter of mine, and for so long, and I just, when somebody disappears overnight like that, and once I saw that they had made it to that PayPal address, it all made sense. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. All right, I get it now. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com is my email address. If you want to send in an email anytime during the show, after the show, anytime. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. Comments, questions, nudie pictures, women only, anything like that. That's where you do it. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. Let's see. Oh, by the way, to the guy who keeps sending me, who's been sending me messages for 8 months, when are you going to finish the End of Day by Zechariah Stitchin? I finished that fucking book last year, dude. I'm not responsible for the stuff that gets put up on YouTube of my show and all my stuff that I do here on the show. I don't upload. The only thing I upload to YouTube of mine are my personal videos that I produce. That's it. I'll upload the archive to Manhydra server after the show, and after that, I don't have any control on what happens to it. Some people put it on YouTube. Some people, put the whole shows up there. Some people put clips up there. Some people cut out the audiobooks and make that. But I have no control over that. And no, I am not going to sit here with a goddamn pen every day and write down the topics that I talk about on these shows and put them in a description for you every day. Because I talk about a lot of stuff every single day. The simple solution is just to listen to the show every day, or don't listen to the show every day. Either one of those things are a solution. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care which one of them you pick. But I am not going to put show descriptions next to the show, every single show I do, and try to meticulously document that. Pick a show, any show. Go listen to it. I mean, there is fucking info in all the shows I've done. Go pick, start out and go back to the earliest archives you find and start at a month and work your way down. I'm not just getting up here in these shows flapping my gums about bullshit, man. I mean, I've been up here for 5 years doing shows, and I'm bringing the info every show. Sometimes you have down periods. That's just the way it is. There are down times when you're working on one thing, or there's not a lot of new stuff coming out, or you're not, you're not finding new things that lead you to, to new things. And that's been the problem for me. I put way too much of myself, way too much of my energy and my own personal energy into my life essence, really, into exposing the Council for National Policy and the Secret Right and Alex Jones and the whole thing. And I'm glad I did. I don't regret any of it. Now I'm going to continue to expose that stuff when I need to. But it definitely is very rewarding for me to be on and doing something else. I've wanted to do this project for so long, and I'm so glad to finally be doing this. And I just hope that we're able to get the resources that we need to make all this happen. Because, when it gets time ready to do a dig, I mean, it's great that there's so many people that want to help and want to be a part of this. But, to be honest with you, I got plenty of helpers. I really don't need any more help. as far as, people and it's going to be a very limited amount of people that I even allow to come to this thing anyway. But because I'm going to be keeping a tight lid on where it's at, the location, everything. Everybody's going to be signing non-disclosure agreements, or you don't get on the site, period, in the story. You're signing a non-disclosure agreement. You won't disclose any stuff that you see, anything that's said, anything that's found with anybody. Law-binding contract. We're going to have each person to sign. I mean, it's going to be that kind of thing. But, I've got plenty of help as far as, I've got archaeologists that have volunteered and geologists and everything. But what we're going to need when it gets time to come to the fall, and that's what I hope to do with the film during the summer, is to promote it to raise cash for the dig. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take some bucks, man. It's going to take some, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 probably. That's on the low end. I was told a dig could be done for $30,000. I was told it could get done for $30,000, but we're just going to have to see. But I don't think that's going to be a problem once people see this film, and if we get this film out in the right way. That's why I'm going to be really pushing for. Even more than trying to get, I'm not going to be spending a lot of resources on, a lot of the, I'm not going to be, I don't know, I'd love to do a Blu-ray thing on this, but just so people can see it in high quality. But if we do an online release and don't go the Blu-ray route and don't put the resources towards that and just do like a limited DVD release, which I plan on doing, and we'll start pre-sales for that in the next couple of weeks. Probably right around June 1st, we'll start pre-sales. But instead of putting cash towards and resources towards getting a bunch of physical discs and all that stuff made this time, I'd really want to concentrate on getting the resources towards putting $1,500 to getting it distributed on iTunes and Netflix, because it's definitely going to be Secret Right Volume 1 and Volume 2, those films are for people who are already in the research community and the truth community and know about all this stuff, know about all these clowns and all these guys. A lot of my friends, a lot of people I know personally in my life, I want to see this movie now. They watch Secret Right Volume 1 and 2, they don't get it. They don't get it at all. It's not because they're not educated to what's going on in the world, or it's not because they don't, know that what I'm talking about or believe that what I'm talking about is real. It's just they don't have any reference point for it because they don't know who the fuck Larry Pratt or Alex Jones or whoever else is, because they could care less. So that's been the problem with some of these films so far, is they've kind of been a niche thing. And I'm very excited to be working on a film that I think is going to, blow the minds of people who, really don't have any idea about this research. And it's going to be a great equalizer, too, as well, with, showing who continues to propagate certain myths about religion, certain myths about creation, certain myths about science, religion, whatever have you, the New World Order itself, the Jews. It's going to be real interesting. It's going to be a real equalizer. I think it's going to expose a whole end of so-called researchers in just as big of a way as the Secret Right films have, without even being about that subject, because it's going to be, it's going to be very clear to you after this film who is who and who is what. And, if you think Lucy had some splaining to do about, why so-and-so and these people over here and this host and that whoever won't talk about the CMP, this is going to be a whole can of worms pertaining to, okay, how come nobody else is talking about this? How come this researcher isn't talking about this? How come whenever you bring this up, they say, oh, that's just that, or whatever have you? It's mind-blowing. Toth's name. Somebody said, can you please tell me Toth's name, the one I'm supposed to call 3 times? Isn't that supposed to be bad? Isn't that like Beetlejuice or something? I'm not going to tell you that. You'll fucking look that shit up yourself. Listen to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth broadcast I did. I heard somebody came in the chat room earlier and said they're making an Emerald Tablets of Thoth app for Android. I'm like, well, that's cool. All right. I refuse to use any of those goddamn NSA funded Android products because everything you run through them goes straight into the NSA. But, you know, that's cool. Yeah. Beetlejuice. There you go. Nice fucking model. Oh, by the way, the lady, I can't remember the name of the book. I don't have it right here next to me. Whoever the lady was that sent me the autographed copy of her book to my P.O. box, thank you for that. That was awesome. I mean, did I talk to you? Did you send me an email about that? I can't remember. But yeah, somebody sent me a book that they wrote. Pretty cool. All right, we do have some emails here, so let's get into those. This is an interesting email that I told the guys in the chat room about the other night. It's from Peter, and he says, "Hi, Josh. You are doing a great service." Oh, the name of the email, by the way, is The 2 Emerald Tablets Withheld from Us. You might remember the Emerald Tablets of Thoth specifically talked about 2 tablets that were held from us. I believe these 2 tablets I believe these are the Pillars of Enoch, is what I believe these to be. Because Enoch is also related to Thoth and that whole thing. But, hi, Josh. You are doing a great service for mankind, my friend. A lot of what you say is true. I could help you find what you were looking for, the answers to all. And, you know, I've gotten a couple of these emails before. I'm not even playing. I've gotten a few. I mean, believe me, I've gotten emails from people before that have, you know, I haven't read them on air and stuff, but I've gotten some from people. It's been, you know, we are the secret light workers behind the scene trying to destroy the NWO, and we can give you information. And I'm just, you know, I got to be honest with you, I'm real skeptical of that kind of stuff. And a lot of that stuff sometimes just kind of seems, you know, like operatives to me. But, you know, I'm willing to give anybody, at least hear you out. But this part, I can help you find what you're looking for, the answers to all. That's a bold claim, you know. Let me ask you this: what group do I have to join? Do I have to wear the Masonic nut rag and give a hand job to Jobulon? Because if I do, I'll just assume find the answers on my own. I don't want to have to join a group. You know, I'm not a joiner. Don't want to have to engage in any ritualistic gay sex acts to get the answers. You know, don't need the answers that bad. I have met people through the work I am doing. I am the marketing director and second in command of CXS, Combined X Services, Intel, and Security, based in the UK. Ooh, that sounds like some MI5 stuff. We are a voluntary organization made of ex-serving personnel from the armed forces. Find us on Facebook, right? Right. Because any self-respecting group of ex-services, Intel, and Security, any self-respecting group in this day and age has to have a Facebook. I mean, give me a fucking break, right? We are fighting globalism, the EU, NWO, and injustices, illegal wars, and so much more. We are in the process of making a film explaining what you are looking for. I would like to share this info with you. You are fighting a good fight. If you would like to work with us to get the word out, we'll work with you in what capacity. You want to share some info with me or share a film with me? I'm open to that. But always kind of, you know, sort of kind of shy away when people use the word "I want to work with you." I don't work with other people. I'm a solo act. You need to understand that. I don't mind. People want to help out. People want to do their part. I'm all about that. But nobody works with me. Nobody's my partner. Nobody's my second in command. It doesn't exist. I'm a lone wolf, and that's the way it is. I don't really play well with others, to be honest with you. But I'm open to hear your information. So yeah, please, send it to me. Thank you. Let's see what else. I know we have more here. Give me a second. All right, this one, this person didn't want me to read their name, even though I've read emails from them before with their name. But maybe I wasn't supposed to do that, or they didn't never say anything before. But this person, she's is a female. She wants her name to be withheld. She says, "Hello, Josh. I've been listening to your archives and have heard almost every show for the past year and a half. I am thrilled you are going to be charging for the second hour, and I'm happy to pay for it, and you deserve to be paid for your efforts." Well, thank you. It's a breath of fresh air to hear that. Shortly after my last email, I was consumed, and still am, with my latest iteration of my self-imposed slave job. I launched a new business to eventually replace my therapy practice so that I can be less attached to the terrible insurance, corporate, government systems and earn more money and have more time to research and pursue enjoyable activities. My money has been largely committed to my new business venture, but I intend to continue to support your work in a very modest way. I've been keeping a list of things to tell you as I've listened to your shows. I recently went to Hawaii for work and pleasure and came across several interesting tidbits. The Hawaiians, on average, were 6 feet 4 to 6 feet 6 inches tall. In the late 1800s, men and women both. Their king in the late 1800s was 7 feet 4 inches tall. Now, that's interesting stuff. I did not know that. Wow. Well, that makes sense with everything else I've researched right now. I'll tell you what, these guys were, they were nomadic people. They were all over the place. I've been reading Hawaiian history, and they seem like the perfect microcosm for understanding how people were taken the world over because they were isolated and tribal. Their history of occupation is short and recent, so it is easy to understand. I visited several royal historic homes, and the first thing they mention on the tours and in their literature is that the homes were laid with full Masonic rites, implying it is a huge honor, but with absolutely no explanation as to what that means. I'll tell you what it means. It means that they actually had the guys come out with the nut rags of Jobulon, the cum rags of Jobulon on, the aprons they wear. They actually had guys come out with all the gear and their faggy little gloves and all that stuff, and they do a coronation ceremony and they pour corn, wine, and oil, which has to do with alchemy. It's an alchemical mixture together. They pour that, they lay the cornerstone, and boom. And it's only done on certain places, certain buildings. Hell, you had weren't the Masonic cornerstones of the Pentagon and World Trade Center both laid on 9/11? Isn't that interesting? As a kid, I was a Job's daughter. I went to a conference of some kind, and the male teen version was there. The Demoles. Oh, so your father was a Freemason. I don't know what a Job's daughter is. Is that a Freemason daughter? Because Demoles is absolutely the Hitler Youth of the Freemasons. Yeah, Bill Clinton was a Demole. Absolutely. It's like the Hitler Youth for Freemasons. That's where they train them how to be good little men and good little boys and to serve Lucifer. No, there's not any dick sucking going on, but yeah, there's a lot of dick sucking going on. I'm not going to kid you. At meetings, we wore Greek-style robes and purple velvet capes. We all had titles, had to memorize lines and walking sequences. There was never any explanation I can remember as to why we were doing it, the origin or what it meant. When I moved away, I had to turn in my robe and book with all of the ceremonial stuff we used in meetings. I'd be curious to read one of those now as an adult. Yeah, no kidding. Another huge Indian burial mound is just outside St. Louis, Missouri. Yes, Cahokia. Cahokia. I was talking about that earlier. Yeah, that's where but again, those, I haven't heard an accurate figure as to how many of those. Somebody's going to have to go there. I think one of our listeners is going there soon. But please, if you can, if you do go to Cahokia there, please ask them, how much of that was rebuilt and how much of that is original as far as the mounds go. I'm curious to know. Is Monk's Mound all original, or did they rebuild that? That's the big question. Because a lot of those, I know for a fact, were bulldozed and built over and then re-excavated. I was here for work when I arrived and was looking into the sites to see if it was my number one priority. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it because of my schedule, the hours it was open, and transportation. They are huge. The thing that stood out to me was that it seemed so ridiculous. It sounds so ridiculous that these massive structures were simply Indian burial grounds. Yeah. I asked a lot of locals what the story was, and no one seemed to know or care about them. Maybe you have listeners out there who can check in. Yep, that's already somebody's already working on that. In about 2004, I worked for a nonprofit and was assigned to a government program. My office was housed in a government building in Tukwila, Washington. One day I was sitting in my car in the parking lot and noticed something that just looked wrong. It was about the size of a hummingbird, but seemed to be the shape of a dragonfly. You know what? I saw something exactly like that the other night. I kid you not. One night last week when I was doing a show, I went outside and smoked, and I saw this thing fly by. I thought it was a hummingbird. It was at night, and it flew by, and it kind of landed on the house and then flew off, and it looked like a dragonfly. And it did not look, it looked like a machine. It was the damnedest thing. I didn't even tell anybody about it and really forgot about it until now. It seemed to be the shape of a dragonfly. Not only was it moving mechanically, it did not look natural or organic in its movements. It was behaving unlike a hummingbird or a dragonfly would. It seemed to be looking into people's cars, hovering on the driver's side right in front of the rearview mirror. This parking lot had not one bit of vegetation that would appeal to a living thing. I watched it for at least 5 minutes and then it flew away. I could not see where it went, but it was totally bizarre. Since then, this has come up on Coast to Coast, your show, several others. I have never forgotten it. Have you ever come across a guy named Court Lindahl? Yes, actually, Court Lindahl has he actually has contacted me a bunch of times after the first time I was on Red Ice. He contacted me several times, and I've been so busy both with Secret Right Project and this project. And he sent me a bunch of stuff, and I've listened to a bunch of his shows and watched his videos. And yeah, I think that his stuff definitely ties in with the stuff that I'm researching now. Absolutely. Eventually, once we get another mixing board in here, so I can route Skype through the mixing board into the interface of the stream, and I can have guests again, we'll get him on because he wants to come on. And I feel bad because he's contacted me many times. He says, I'm not going to contact you anymore. So I hear back from you, and I just feel bad. So, but yeah, I'll definitely get Court on the show eventually for you. He's doing original research with Google Earth and man-made structures and world powers. Very interesting. I wonder if there's a relationship with these mounds, too. Yeah. Thanks for all your great shows. You've had some very interesting insights that filled in some gaps for me. P.S. The first time I wrote you, I razzed you about being like the Howard Stern of this genre, which I think is, a compliment. It's just the crass sexual references I don't like mostly, because I can't play your show in my office on speakers because my colleagues and their clients would not be amused. It's too bad. As a result, passive listeners are not being turned on to the show. I don't mind swerving adult themes, the unvarnished truth. Well, yeah, and that's not going to change because, nobody controls the content of my show, and I'm not going to, I've just for years felt like a hypocrite. I have to be myself. I can't get up here and be some fake plastic, radio person because I'm not that kind of person. I'm not even very you got to understand, doing this, what I do here is a complete antithesis of my personality. I'm not an outgoing, out in front type of guy. I like to be behind the scenes, not make a lot of noise, not really be seen. And since I've been doing this, it's put me in a position, where I've had to be out in front. And I, in the past, I did that. I towed the line, and I was just miserable because I couldn't be myself. Now, that doesn't mean that, I talk like that and do all that. That's the whole thing, is you probably would find me less crass and less offensive if you actually knew me. That's the funny paradox of the whole thing there. So thanks to her for the email. Trying to see if I had any other emails here. Well, I think that is all. So what we have here in the news box tonight. I've talked about these happenings that occur when I'm making films. A lot of times people who've been listening to the show for a while are aware of this and have seen this happen themselves and have pointed it out to me. But, for instance, when I was making the Secret Ride films, I'd be coming on new information. All of a sudden, new stuff would come out in the media that would kind of, attempt to steer the conversation back another way. And yet again, while I'm working on this new film, we've seen this happen several times. We've covered several stories here. And yet again, more coming out. I find this one just very interesting in terms of the research that I'm doing now, and, the whole thing about Christopher Columbus discovering America, and that whole thing of bullshit. But now they're saying that Columbus was a crypto Jew. I mean, anybody else not surprised by that? I mean, I'm just pretty underwhelmed by that. I mean, why are they choosing to tell us this now? I mean, anybody else just not shocked? I mean, yeah. He was an intrepid explorer, heroically leading his crew into the unknown as he set sail for the New World on a voyage of discovery and bullshit. His legend might be cemented in history as the man who discovered America, but a remarkable new theory has emerged about Christopher Columbus and why he embarked on his momentous voyage of 1492. On the day marking the 508th anniversary of the explorer's death, scholars have claimed there is compelling evidence that suggests Christopher Columbus was secretly Jewish and that he hid his true faith to serve the Spanish Inquisition. And, there's so many holes on these. I mean, I remember, this actually happened when I was in school. I can remember when they told us, about the conquistadors going to South America, and going to the tribal people, the Mayans or whoever, and, going up to them, and all of a sudden, as soon as they saw them, they completely, started bowing down to the Spaniards, and And we're told in the school books and in the history books that, oh, it's because they had gold and they thought they were gods and all this stuff. No. And I remember, calling that out and asking teachers about this, saying, something doesn't seem right about that. Why did these people just drop down? And now I know that the reason that they did is because they had features of these people who had been to the Americas way earlier that the natives and the savages believed to be their gods. And they had these Caucasian-type features, these European Caucasian-type features. So when the Spaniards and stuff showed up and they had beards, and they thought that it was their gods returning, so they acquiesced to them. Because people had been there before that they had mistaken them for. They always left that out. And that's a key piece of information that I found now is very telling. I mean, you ever wonder why? You ever notice how Hispanics, Mexicans, you ever notice? I mean, I'm really not being, I hope nobody gets offended by this. I'm not trying to be racist or anything by saying this, because it's just a fact. But have you ever noticed how sometimes Hispanics, Mexicans, they'll have features, like noses that, I mean, I just have to come right out and say it. I can't say it in a nice way, but seriously, sometimes Mexicans have Jew noses. I've always wondered about that. I mean, I worked with a chick one time. She had the biggest fucking Jew nose, dude. I'm like, where does that come from? Well, it comes from these Semitic people, these ancient Semites that, were going around and getting their in-key on with the savages and changing their entire bloodlines forever. So I just love it now that the whole myth and bullshit of Christopher Columbus is coming unwound. Now they have to throw some new, oh well, he was Jewish. Oh, but if he was, that does make it all the more interesting as far as the stuff that I found. Because it makes you wonder if, he was there looking for these ancient people he thought existed there that, may have been of the tribe. Well, this is always the kind of thing you want to hear from a police officer. NYPD officer says to suspect, "My dick will go in your mouth." Well, that's good quality law enforcement, isn't it? A New York City Police Department sergeant has been caught on video threatening several Brooklyn men with his gun with sexual assault. Cell phone video obtained by the New York Post shows Sergeant Leslie Charles launching into a profane tirade. He's a black guy. The suspects are white. See how they're fomenting this bullshit racial division stuff on us, getting everybody against it. I mean, it's happening. I mean, we may see race riots this year. There's a possibility. I mean, people are getting, it's just this Trayvon thing. People have been going out and, Mexicans just randomly getting shot by black people now. That's for Trayvon. Well, it's nice to see they smashed that whole Trayvon as an angel myth, isn't it? Oh, man. Oh, he was an angel. He didn't do anything wrong. He was high as a fucking kite, dude. And I'm not saying this. I'm not necessarily saying that marijuana is bad or anything either. But my point is that, when when there's a reason why, if they were ever to make marijuana legal, there should be an age like 21 on it, like there is liquor. It's because your receptors and brain receptors and things like that are not fully functioned yet. And if you're going to smoke marijuana, when your brain, when your body's pumping with hormones, think about how old he was. Body pumping with hormones, body pumping with adrenaline. Teenagers are just a fucking ball of hormones and energy. And normally, marijuana would not make somebody violent. But in the case of teenagers, because it's just sensory overload. You know, when you're young, it's a whole lot different. When you take a hit of pot when you're 16, it's a whole lot different when you take a hit of pot when you're 40. Because your body is developed in a different way. And, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I've seen it. You know, I've seen people who are under the age of 18 smoke marijuana before and get crazy and get violent on it because it just, you know, it's like sensory overload. It's like a new experience. So they're just, you know. But it wouldn't surprise you in the least bit that we see race riots before this is all over with. This black cop actually says to a white suspect, "I have a long dick and you don't." Way to play into the stereotype there. Got news for you, Buck. There are just as many black dudes with small dicks as there are white dudes with small dicks. It's not, it didn't go all the way across the board. There are just as many white dudes with dicks that are as big as black dudes. Everybody's built differently. But I love how the blacks who always say don't stereotype us, don't put us in a stereotype. Here comes the black straight up stereotyping himself. "I have a long dick, you don't, Whitey." Oh, nice. Thanks. Is that what you say to Chinese people too? Tell them how small their dicks are? Is that new cop procedure in New York? "Listen to me. When you see me, you look the other way. Tell your boys I don't fuck around. I'll take my gun and put it up your ass, and then I'll call your mother afterwards, okay? I'll put your own shit in your mouth, all right?" Boy, he sounds like he does that often, doesn't he? Isn't that what you're into there, big guy? I make you a big man, sticking your gun up somebody's ass and making them lick the shit off of it? Yeah, that's what a big man does, isn't it? You guys are hustling or whatever. I ain't got no problem with that. But when I come around and I speak, you fucking listen. Tell your boys. Your pretty face, I like it very much. My dick will go in your mouth and come out your ear. Don't fuck with me. According to the Post, the 21-year-old man who recorded the video was arrested that evening for disorderly conduct. More than 20 earlier arrests included charges relating to larceny, weapons, and drugs. Reached at home by a paper on Sunday, Charles explained that he was just doing God's work. You know, I can't comment. Have a blessed day. That's what's the scariest, the most about these sickos. These cops will go and tell you, "I will stick my gun up your ass," and then call your mother and then make you lick your own shit off my gun, and you're going to like the taste of my dick in your mouth, and your dick's small, Whitey, and mine's big, and they're so fucked in the goddamn head, they consider that doing God's work. "I'm just doing God's work. Yeah, have a blessed day. Thank you. Yeah, that's what God wants me to do." Sick motherfuckers. This is interesting. I wonder if I could get access to some of this for the rock wall. Probably not. Probably got millions of dollars to access this, but it'd be cool. Spotting ancient sites from space. This is from Science Daily. For decades working as an archaeologist meant being as Jason interesting last name there, as in in Babylon, or Samaria, ziggurat at The John L. Loeb Associate Professor of the Social Sciences puts it, the guy with the muddy boots. And researchers like him may soon be able to avoid some of that mud, however, thanks to a system he developed that uses computers to scour satellite images for telltale clues of human habitation. That's awesome. So it can see layers and layers of human habitation. That is the shit. Man, can we get some of that directed at Rockwall, please? God. Boy, that would, man. I think I might contact this professor and ask him, "Hey, can you do me a favor? I mean, you built this. You created this program, right? Can you run this over this area of Rockwall for me here and see what you come up with?" Because literally, I'll read this for you. It says that it actually gives you the ability to be able to see layers and layers and layers under the ground that is man-made. That's incredible. Really incredible. Already, he said, the system has uncovered thousands of potential ancient settlements that might reveal clues to the earliest complex human societies. Wow. Wow, this is exciting. Yeah, this is a game changer. This is what we've needed right here. As described in a paper published March 19th in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, worked with Bjorn Menzies, a research affiliate on MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, to create software that uses a series of factors, including soil discolorations and the distinctive mounding that results from the collapse of mud brick homes, to identify ancient settlements. Armed with that profile, examined satellite images of a 23,000 square kilometer area of northeastern Syria. Oh, wow. It's chock full of ancient stuff right there. That's Anunnaki out the wazoo. And turned up approximately 9,000 settlements, an increase of at least an order of magnitude over what had previously been identified. I could do this on the ground, said, of the results of the computer-aided survey, but it would probably take me the rest of my life to study an area this size. With these computer science techniques, however, we can immediately come up with an enormous map, which is methodologically very interesting, which also shows the staggering amount of human occupation over the last 7,000 to 8,000 years. God, man, could you imagine? Like you said, you can do in minutes what it would take you a lifetime to do on the ground digging. Imagine that. I mean, if we could get some analysis of the rock wall with this software, we could see the layers and we could see the things, how far down they go, how old they are, and everything else, without having to even dig anything up. That's incredible. Working in this area is particularly important because these parts of northern Iraq and northwest Syria were home to some of the earliest complex societies in the world. We are extremely interested in these places because they can help us answer questions about the origins of urbanism, settlement patterns, and demographic shifts, and how people exploited their landscape. Though traditional archaeology does an excellent job describing how people lived in the past, it is simply too small scale to address issues that demand a wider area of focus, said. The way that we get at these issues is not through excavation, he explained. We do this by surveying. The traditional way of doing that has been to go out and walk around. We can find these locations based on surface manifestations. In the Middle East, they have different colored soils, the result of the decay of centuries of mud brick houses, as well as people burning things and people going to the bathroom. But the real kicker is that you can see these soil discolorations and you don't have to walk across it. You don't even have to get close to it. You can see it from space. To get that view from space, until recently relied on hundreds of declassified 1960s-era spy satellite photographs as a research tool. However, the images are less than perfect because they predate digital photography. Was forced to study each image by hand, a painstaking process ultimately dependent on his subjective view of what is or isn't an ancient settlement. In addition, he said the images are in black and white, making the identification of sites even more challenging. Latest project, however, takes advantage of far newer images produced by NASA's ASTER, Advanced Spaceborne Thermal Emission and Reflection Radiometer satellite. The innovation of this project has been to take advantage of satellite imagery that sees beyond what the human eye can see. ASTER can see red and green, but it can also detect the near-infrared and a number of subsequent wavelengths. In addition, ASTER images are born digital. That allows us to develop a profile based on places that we know are archaeological sites, then use software to identify places that have similar signatures. Working with Menzies, approximately used 160 images of a region he had previously surveyed in precise detail to develop a program that can scour digital images and produce a probability map that identifies areas likely to be ancient sites. Neither, however, expected the software to come up with some 9,000 possible sites. That's incredible. It's a bit breathtaking to think of those numbers. It instantly makes this area one of the best-known archaeological areas in the world. Though the software does appear to be a quantum leap forward in finding ancient sites, said its results do come with one major caveat. The process can tell us what is likely to be an archaeological site, but what it cannot tell us is when that site was occupied by humans. For that, we have to visit those places. Well, see, I already have a lot of that data anyway. Based on the wheel that was found in the wall, the level of the wall in Rockwall was found at, the dating of that wheel puts it at 7,000 years. The Amorites were smelting metal during that time. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. So I have all that, but to be able to see, like a 3D image all the way down, some 8 stories that the wall goes down, man, that would just be absolutely incredible. Let me see if I can get that link in there to the chat room. There you go. We're going to take a break, come back, see if we have any more news stories to get into, and then we're going to get into our series of reading for you here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. And this is The Global Reality with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Stay with us. All right, back here with you on The Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. In this segment, we're going to finish up with our news, and then we're going to get on to a little bit of reading for you here tonight, this morning, however you want to look at it. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. And we have only a couple weeks to go left. We have a long way to go on our film budget. And really this week we need a couple of $100 in at least on that. And it gives us a couple of weeks left to meet our goal. But any amount, large or small, we can get in on that this week would be great. I'd like everybody to focus, if you're going to donate this week, to focus on that and not the operating cost chip in, because we'll get to that next week for the fundraiser, because we'll have a full week next week to do that. So please, you can donate and support there if you can towards the newest film that I'm working on. It's very difficult to work on a film and not have a budget. And we have got a little bit in this month, and that's helped significantly, because, then I'm able to, if I see a piece of footage or a video or DVD or something I have to have that I can't find online for free that I need to have for the film, I can get it, and I don't have to worry about that and wait, and then the work continues, and that's all good. So please help us out if you can. TheGlobalReality.com with chip and banners there to support our work. We don't have commercials. We don't have sponsors. We don't have any outside help. You have to realize the kind of work that I'm doing normally is resigned to people who get grants by the Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Foundation, Ford Foundation. They get these huge grants to do these alleged archaeological research projects, and then they get what they don't understand what they're getting for that is, yes, they get their funding to do these projects, but ultimately no truth ever really comes out, because the funding that is providing these research projects is being provided by people who have a stake in the answer. That's why you see, public broadcasting. Every time I see a public broadcasting show, brought to you by the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers donating tons of money to those kind of shows. They donated, $50 million to some dinosaur museum recently. Why is it that all these big wigs and these high level guys are always, philanthropically donating their money to these Smithsonian and everything else? Because they're paying for the covering up of the real knowledge that keeps their power structure and their society they control intact. We don't have any of that. I mean, my God, if I had some kind of a grant like that from for the size those guys give out, $50,000, $100,000 or $50 million or $10 million. I mean, $50 million to a dinosaur museum. Can you imagine? But that's what they're paying for. And so I need people who have a vested interest in a stake in their own personal want of the truth to come forward and support these projects. And so if you're one of those and you haven't supported our work yet, please do so. If you donate over $500, you're going to get a co-producer credit in the film. And by the way, if those of you who have donated $500 or more, don't buy my freaking DVDs, okay? You get the free DVD. You're in the free DVD club and I have people who've done that, and it pisses me off. I'm like, oh, you donated a lot, man. Why'd you buy the DVD too? From now on, if you donate $500 or more to the films, sometimes I don't keep track of everybody, but most of the time I do. But definitely just when the videos come out, just say, hey, send me an email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, with the amount that you donated and all that. Maybe send your PayPal receipt too, and then I'll be able to know that for sure, and I can send you out the DVD for free. So, and I'll try to have different incentives and stuff like that, co-producer credits. But the biggest thing for this project is what you're going to be getting for your donation is you're going to get your name on something that is going to send shockwaves through a lot of communities, research community, scientific community, religious community. That's why what I'm doing right now is such a daunting task, because I'm almost having to rewrite. Imagine if you had to sit down and completely write a brand new timeline for history, science, and religion, and then make it into a movie and making it into something palatable that people can digest and understand. It's no easy task, and sometimes I do get those moments where I feel like I'm not the man for the job, and then I realize that I am the man for the job, and that I'm the only one that's going to do it, so I have to do it. And my responsibility for this is, I'm way past the point of no return on this. I don't have a choice now. I have to keep doing it. So please support us and help us get this film out, folks, because it's I can't tell you anymore because I'll give it. I'll going to give it away. So I got to keep the stuff that's in this. All I can tell you is that, if you were ever going to support something that I did, this would be it. And I mean that with all sincerity. But if there was ever anything that you were ever going to think about supporting me on, please, on this film, please do it. Because it's just a game changer. But I feel, if for the first time, that this is really going somewhere. This is really going to take us to those levels of information that I and a lot of you out there have been searching for years, and it already is taking me there, and it is going to take you there once I get all this in the film and it's out and you see it. I promise you, and it's going to continue to be that way, because there's going to be a lot more work to do even once Volume 1 is done, and lots more stuff to find out and research and dig and find data on. I'm hoping that this rock wall thing will provide at least enough interest in the subject matter to get more of these kind of things and more of these kind of digs going on all over the country, all over the world, because there is stuff all over the place. I've already identified. In fact, I used to live right next to this little town called Saxe, little small town here in the suburbs of Dallas. And I had found out recently that I lived over there near there for years. But I found out they found two, I don't know where they're located at or anything else, but they found two smaller rock wall type structures in the Saxe area, and that's only just a few miles from Rockwall. They found one down near Austin, I think. Very similar. It was reported in the New York Times in the 1920s. Said it was thicker than the Great Wall of China. There's one they found that I reported on, talked about here recently. Southern Tennessee near Alabama. Ran underneath the Tennessee River. So I hope that this will inspire a renaissance and an interest in understanding that there was a great deal to be learned underneath what we see in everyday life and take for granted on the surface of our planet. Let's finish up our news now. Cambridge boffins are studying a prehistoric version of Facebook. to gain a unique insight into the daily lives of our ancestors. Scientists are analyzing thousands of images scrawled across 2 granite rock sites, each the size of a football pitch, in Sweden and Russia. Well, this sounds like my boys that I'm on the trail of. This sounds like their handiwork. Archaeologists believe the sites were an early form of social networking used by Bronze Age tribes to communicate with each other. Yeah, they did the same shit at Anubis Caves in the panhandle of Oklahoma. They scrawled all kinds of stuff there, made alignments in this cave with the sun, and so that enabled. I've got a clip of this in the film, but they put different markings on near the Anubis Caves, and there's pretty good solid evidence that whoever did this stuff, this writing at the Anubis Caves in Panhandle of Oklahoma, were Aryans. They were into Mithras worship, which is part of Zoroastrianism, which came out of that area of Iran at that time. And they left markings which have enabled scientists to be able to determine the year in which these drawings were made, because they show a celestial alignment that occurred in a certain year, and they are able to tell when that occurred and gain a year by it. The site gave up different clans the opportunity to build up knowledge and share tips on hunting and other necessities for survival. Scientists believe ancient man continued to go back to the exact same locations to draw and communicate for thousands of years, as it proved providing them with comfort and deep human connection. Cambridge archaeologist Mark Sapwell is using the latest technology to analyze the different types of imagery, including animals, humans, boats, and hunting parties. Mr. Sapwell said there's clearly something quite special about these spaces. I think that people went there because they knew people had been there before them. And that's something that I've definitely seen with the rock wall and a lot of these other ancient sites, is that, there's definitely evidence, the further down you dig, that, you can see where different people built onto the rock wall and other sites at different times using the materials that were available to them at the time. And there's temples in Egypt that are like that. The Temple of Hathor, not the Temple of Hathor, the Temple of Man at Luxor, which is a temple of the human body that is a computer. And like the library is in the brain and the pineal gland, and it was built over thousands of years over different dynasties, and with different dynasties using whatever building materials were available to them at the time. That's why the very top of the rock wall, part of the very top of the rock wall is exposed in some areas of rock wall. And if you saw it, and it's there, you can drive by and see it. It's the top of the wall. I'm going to get some footage of for the film, a couple of these different places. If you didn't know better, you just think it was just a concrete slab. But there are several places where there are concrete slabs where there shouldn't be concrete slabs. Like, in the middle of a field, it's where I told you about the bird hunting preserve, there, places like that, the concrete slabs in the middle of fields. Like, somebody just laid a concrete slab and then didn't do anything with it. No. The top of the rock wall is a primitive form of concrete. It's different than the concrete we have, but it's a concrete material nonetheless. And you see different materials built on it as you go. So there was definitely people there before. And that's what I found with this research, is that now I know why. You ever wondered, because I wondered when I was a kid, and maybe I was just a weird kid and I was, one of the only ones that wondered about this. But did you ever wonder why, a city was built in a certain place? You know what I mean? Like, I used to wonder when I was a kid, why was Dallas built? Because, you can go not very far outside of Dallas. You can go, 30, 45 minutes. It's getting, actually, we're expanding, getting so big here that's the time of that's kind of come between. But you can go, an hour out of Dallas and be in the woods, You can go out and be in the country, where I grew up when I was a teenager and stuff. And I used to always kind of wonder to myself, why did they choose to put a city here and somewhere else? What was the methodology behind it? And then you get older and you find out about, ley lines, and you find about, or you hear about trade and commerce and location to water sources and just obvious things, food sources and things that make sense. You go, okay, that makes sense. But now what I'm finding with this research of the new film is that the whole reason that we built modern cities where we built them in the first place is because when settlers came in, they found already existing settlements and places that were considered sacred. And that's why in certain cities, when you go to downtown areas, there will be a statue of, down at UT in Austin, they've got, the Dagon fishman thing, which is representative of Oannes. Oannes was the first of the messianic deities. Thousands of years before Christ. Here comes Oannes in his armor that looked like scales with his fish hat. The body that looked like a fish comes out and gives the primitives religion and gives them technology and shows them how to plant crops and gives them culture and language. And that's why the Pope, and you see to this day, that's why the Pope has the fish hat. That's an ephod communication helmet thing. And that's why, you have all the fish symbology and the fish hat with the Pope and with Rome and the Vatican and all that stuff. And they'll tell you, oh, well, it has to do with Jesus and that. Well, no. Nope. Jesus was but another incarnation of the original, which was Oannes. And that is what the people of the Catholic faith, whether they know it or not, they can believe they're worshiping Jesus all day long, and I guess in a way they are, but that symbology with the fish hats and all that stuff is there for a reason, because Oannes was the first of the messianic deities, and he said all the same things Christ did. He had commandments. He said, follow these commandments till I return, follow in my ways and my footsteps, take the things that I've taught you, build your societies out of it, and keep it that way until I return, and then I'll return someday. And, he never came back. And, that happened again and again and again. And that's what's so highly interesting about looking at what this stuff means and looking at the origins of religion and everything else. Like, for instance, I've talked about the Back Creek inscription that they say says for Judea. They found it in a Cherokee burial mound underneath a Caucasian mummy whose DNA traces back to one place 50,000 years ago in Galilee and in ancient Israel. No surprise there. But what I found out is that the inscription does not say for Judea. People say, oh, that they're talking about ancient Hebrew, ancient Israel. So it's for Gudea with a G. Very similar. Gudea was actually a ruler in ancient Assyria or Samaria, Assyria, that whole area. And he was an Inlalite. You had, the Sumerian texts talk about the Inlalite tribes and the Enkiite tribes. And that's what I'm finding more and more is that throughout history, our religions have been broken up and the power structure has been broken up to people who are of the Inlalite tribes and races that are of the Inlalite tribes, or religions that are of the Inlalite tribes and races that are of the Enkiite tribes. And this is where you have the separation between things like, the Nordic Viking giants and the Nordic style giants and the, then you have the Caucasoid European red-haired giants, and you have two different subspecies and two different things there. So it's, it's all fascinating stuff. I don't want to get too much into it. But the Back Creek inscription, yeah, absolutely. For Gudea again had built this the temple to Ninurta, and of course Ninurta was, I think, the daughter of Enlil or something like that. And the Amorites were said to have been followers of Gudea, and but that DNA evidence puts them right here, in the United States, getting their fucking on with the ancient savages. And that's why so many of these, the Cherokees and stuff have these European-like features. But you understand, when they find this DNA, well, they found DNA evidence of Zahiawas didn't want to put it out, that King Tut had, quote-unquote, European lineage and DNA. But the thing is, it wasn't really Europeans back then. And they're not giving you the right story by telling you, they're saying, oh, Europeans, but what they really mean is Caucasoids, Caucasians. And it's blowing holes in the whole Afrocentric thing. That's why they that's why Napoleon, I guess that's what they say was the story, but Napoleon blew the face off of the Sphinx or whatever, but that's the reason why they did that. Because of the European features. And these European features are Caucasian features. And boy, they've been trying to keep that one covered up for quite some time. But that's why everything is happening in the Middle East. These fucking bloodline guys believe that's their culture. That's their history. They want it back. They believe the people that exist in Iran and Israel and Iraq and that to be mongrel people, not to be the true heirs to that land. And boy, if you hadn't begun to see the genocide that we're going to see, I think, in our time in that area of the world, just judging from my research. You know what? I'm done with the news tonight. I don't even want to get into any. We'll say we only had a couple of more stories. I'm going to save them for tomorrow night, just in case we have another slow news day like we've been having lately tomorrow, and that way we'll go ahead and ensure that we'll have us some material. We'll ensure we'll be able to do another show tomorrow. So we're going to move on to our reading for you here as soon as I get back to my page. Well, actually, as soon as my iPad boots up is more appropriately here. I had it charging, so now it's like, having to boot back up. There we go. All right, Chapter 4, The Lost Worlds of Ancient America. A Fox's Tale of Ancient Romans in Peru. Ancient Rome's impact on the New World went far beyond North America, as attested by a humble, obscure artifact at the St. Louis Museum of Art in Missouri. Under the light of comparative symbolism, its missed significance stands out in bold relief. Although mainstream archaeologists dismiss any suggestion of overseas visitors to America from the Old World before Christopher Columbus, they were hard put to explain away the discovery this year alone of no less than 19 ancient Roman coins at two separate locations in Kentucky almost immediately after the first modern Europeans arrived on the shores of our continent. They began picking up such anomalous loose change from the newly plowed farmers' fields or near riverbanks. According to U.S. archaeologist Gunnar Thompson, Ph.D., 2 Roman coins were found near Fayetteville, Tennessee in 1819. One was of Antonius Pius, the other was of Emperor Commodus, 188 to 192 AD. They were discovered several feet deep beneath trees thought to be several hundred years old. Archaeologists found 4th century Roman coin buried in a mound in Round Rock, Texas. Wow. Round Rock is down by Austin. We got some listeners down there. Beachcombers near Beverly, Massachusetts have collected numerous coins embossed with faces of Roman emperors between 337 AD and 383 AD. Other coins dating between 50 BC and 750 AD have been found in North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, and Oklahoma. But proof other than coins tell of Imperial Rome's impact on pre-Columbian America. For more than 100 years after the Spaniards arrived in Chile, during the early 16th century, rumors abounded of El Ciudad de los Caesares. The city of the Caesars was also referred to as the city of Patagonia, allegedly founded by ancient Roman sailors fleeing civil unrest after Julius Caesar's assassination and later shipwrecked at the Straits of Magellan. The lost city was supposed to have been awash in gold, silver, and diamonds donated by grateful Indians for Roman expertise in building the Incan ancestors' extensive network of roads. Well, no, again, there's that myth. They thought there were their ancestors, the men of renown, the men of old. Supporting this legend, an Inca aqueduct of Rodero, Peru, does indeed employ two tiers of rounded stone arches, often referred to as true arches. According to Dr. Thompson, this style of architecture was a characteristic of the ancient Mediterranean. Consequently, the Rodero aqueduct makes a strong argument for the Greco-Roman cultural diffusion. Although El Ciudad de los Caesares was never found, it may nevertheless have paralleled other discoveries of an ancient Roman presence on America's eastern shores, such as a shipwreck investigated by underwater archaeologist Robert Marks off Rio de Janeiro in 1976. Amorphorae he retrieved from the vessel were they were scientifically analyzed by Elizabeth Will, a professor in classical Greek history at the University of Massachusetts. She positively identified them as part of a cargo that left North Africa at the port of Zillis around 250 AD. Marks went on to find a bronze fibula, a garment clasp in Brazil's Guanabara Bay, a bronze fibula. That's nuts. Further north near the Mexican Gulf Coast, bricks that went into building the Maya city of Comacalco were stamped with 2nd century Roman mason marks, and its terracotta plumbing, unique in all Mesoamerica, was identical to contemporary pipes found in Roman-occupied Israel. These and similar finds, such as the ceramic representation of a bearded European with Roman-style haircut and wearing a typically Roman cap, retrieved during the excavation of the 2nd century pyramid at Quetzalcoatl, Mexico, suggest that the accounts of the city of the Caesars may have had some factual basis in pre-Columbian contacts. Mark's discoveries were so persuasive, even a few Orthodox archaeologists begrudgingly conceded that his underseas evidence did indeed prove that sailors from the Imperial Rome achieved at least one transatlantic crossing to Brazil. These conventional scholars were quick to add, though, that the mid-3rd century mariners must have been merely a few castaways without any influence on South America prehistory, and could not have represented any important connection with the Roman world. Contradicting this mainstream supposition is a humble artifact, gathering more dust than attention throughout the decades. It has been on public display at Missouri's St. Louis Museum of Art. It was featured in the 2007 issue of the Midwestern Epigraphic Journal, when Dr. John White wrote that the pig soldier figurine from Moche appears to be a fox after all. Dr. White's figurine refers to the effigy of a werfox, its head strapped with a conical helmet and human hands folded above a disc. A red band running around the shield-like disc is punctuated by 15 evenly spaced cream-colored dots and surrounds a central red-hooked cross on cream-colored background. These elements are part of a 29-centimeter-high jar with curving semicircular hollow handles at the back. A tube is connected to and protrudes at an angle from the curved handle, allowing someone to drink or inhale the bottle's contents. The artifact's display card reads, Fox and Shield Effigy Bottle, Peru, North Coast, Mochica for Culture. Early Intermediate Period AD 200 to 500. Red and cream painted earthenware. On this stirrup spout vessel, we find an anthropomorphic fox at the top of a large, round, painted shield on the front. The fox wears a conical helmet with a chin strap. The shield has a handle that encircles the conically shaped vessel. Painted zones on the back are separated by grooved incising. This droll description can be counted upon to ignite something less than passionate interest in visitors to the American Archaeological Gallery. The American Archaeology Gallery, where the object is displayed. They are not informed that it is something more than a mildly curious artifact from some unfamiliar culture predating the rise of the Incan Empire by 13 centuries. Instead, it is overlooked physical evidence for the arrival of Indo-European voyagers in South America from the Old World more than 1,000 years before Christopher Columbus landed on the beach at Hispaniola. The werfox jars was made by the Mochica, usually referred to as the Moche, a seafaring people who inhabited the northern coastal plain of Peru around 100 AD. They established a thriving trade network that eventually grew into a powerful civilization thanks in large measure to their fleets of far-ranging balsa wood rafts and boats. Though none of these crafts survived, they are commonly depicted on contemporaneous pottery. The Moche were also skilled goldsmiths and created a broad variety of effigy ware portraying everything from gods and demons engaged in war, labor, sexual activity, sailing, drunkenness, and human sacrifice. Water management experts on a grand scale, they made the Peruvian desert bloom with their vast irrigation networks. The centerpiece of their capital city was the Huaca del Sol, the Pyramid of the Sun, composed of more than 130 million adobe bricks to form the largest pre-Columbian structure of its kind built in all the Americas. It originally towered 150 feet over Rio Moche, where it served as a temple for ritual dramas and imperial residence containing royal burial chambers filled with gold treasures. These were flushed out by the 17th century Spaniards who diverted the river into the pyramid. Interestingly, the St. Louis Museum Werfox jar has been dated to the early intermediate period, a time of great outward expansion for the Moche. They were also receptive to outside influences, resulting in a middle period from 300 to 600 AD of cultural fluorescence. It was not to endure, however, and succumbed largely to the effects of a super El Nino. It reminds me, I don't know why, as soon as I saw that El Nino, I just got Chris Farley in my head. I am El Nino. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, El Nino means the Nino. 30 years of intense rain and flooding were followed by another 3 decades of drought. Before this calamitous series of events from which the Moche were unable to recover, an early intermediate period of broadening interaction with the outside world saw the creation of their Werfox jar. According to the Complete Museum of Pre-Columbian Gold website, the Moche considered the fox a lunar symbol because of its nocturnal habits. At the Pyramid of the Sun's smaller, better preserved companion, the Huaca de la Luna, the Pyramid of the Moon, archaeologists found a ceremonial mask of copper-gold alloy, configured to mimic a fox head decorated with lunar symbols. This mask was worn by a priest or shaman who personally strove to merge with the animal's identity or soul, thereby taking on its powers. These included healing and a wide range of psychic abilities, particularly prophecy and clairvoyance, connected with lunar energy. On page 65 of his authoritative book about Andean civilization, pre-Inca art and culture, Swiss professor Hermann Leicht from the University of Zurich reproduced a northern coastal Peruvian vase depicting the moon divinity sitting in a litter carried by 2 men wearing fox masks and tails. These were foxes, were priests in service to the lunar deity, whose avatar on Earth the Moche believed was the fox. Why should they not look upon him, then, as a servant of the moon, since they saw often enough how the beast held conversations with it in long, drawn-out howls? We know neither the name of the Moche lunar deity nor the substance of its worship. But during the same time period, on the other side of the world, the moon goddess was worshipped in Rome as Diana, divine mistress of the hunt, who simultaneously protected wild animals, an apparent contradiction made clear in her precept. Humans must kill game to feed themselves, but in moderation. Diana was synonymous with the Greek Artemis, Olympian patroness of women in labor and of children. In Greco-Roman art, both versions were typically portrayed in the company of a fox, usually following the goddess, thereby signifying her followers, priests, priestesses, and or initiates of her lunar cult. But this animal is not the only cogent connection between the ancient Old World and pre-Incan South America. Well, you know, at Moundville, they had this, it was kind of a similar thing. They had an artifact there, I have footage of it in the film. It was called a bat, they called it a bat effigy bowl. But it was a bear face with the wings of a bat. But he didn't mention anything about the bear in the in the description. But I shit you not, it was a bat, like a moonbat bear, dude. It was a bear with bat wings on a bowl. I mean, what does that represent? Probably, because to me that's kind of like, dualistic. Bears do all their hunting and stuff during the day. They're not a nocturnal creature. They're up during the daytime. Bats are not really a daytime. They're flying around in the moonbat hours, right? So to have those both together existing in one effigy bowl is kind of a confusing thing. Artemis Diana's brother was Phoebos Apollo, the sun god, whose own symbol was a leftward-oriented hooked cross, the swastika. The name is Sanskrit for good luck sign and emblematic of all solar deities, invariably male, known to every Indo-Aryan people, of which the Romans were one. Its inverse, like the rightward-oriented swastika, was likewise associated with the sun god's twin sister, the moon goddess. Right, like the moon goddess that they worship in Samaria, Sin. That's interesting because the Amorites were sin worshippers. Classical era vase paintings and statues of Artemis and Diana were typically adorned with a swastika. Appearance of this symbol on a Moche effigy jar depicting the same animal identified with the ancient European moon goddess is underscored by the 15 dots going around the hooked cross that correspond to half the number of nights in a lunar month. Moreover, the vessel's manufacture during the early intermediate period occurred between 200 AD and 500 AD as Roman imperialism expanded to its greatest extent, and just when the majority of Roman coins found in North America were minted. The Romans excelled in road building, irrigation, and military science. Civilized virtues, and likewise chiefly characterized the Moche. This is not to argue that they were themselves ancient Romans. They were probably a native South American people whose developing society was fundamentally influenced by visitors from the Mediterranean world, whether as shipwrecked castaways or members of expeditions under orders from their emperor to bring back something of value from Catagara, the Roman name for South America, according to Dr. Thompson, Argentine anthropologist Dick Ibarragrasso, and other independent scholars. Powerful foreigners impacted not only Moche material culture, but made a lasting impression on Andean metaphysics, as evidenced by the Werfox effigy jar. It was almost certainly the original possession of a priest to the moon goddess and may have been used as a container for some hallucinogenic potion or drug that enabled him to enter a altered state of consciousness in the performance of his ritual duties. Yeah. Well, where do you think the ayahuasca shaman come from? They come from South America. Let me ask you another question. How in the God's green fucking acres, out of all the plants, all the herbs, all the roots, out of everything, how in the fuck did primitive South Americans just figure out how to take certain alkaloids and alkalis and mix them together to create ayahuasca for DMT? They didn't just do that on their own, folks. This was given to them from somebody who had high technology, who knew how to do it. And these bowls were what they ingested the ayahuasca brew in, which contains the alkaloid of DMT, dimethyltryptamine. In any case, the St. Louis Museum's little artifact comprises a kind of physical proof for the arrival in ancient Peru of Roman culture bearers who left their identifiable, enduring mark on early South American civilization. So that's the end of Chapter 4. We'll pick up next time with Chapter 5, A Controversial Symbol's Original Meaning by Dr. John White. So there you go. That wraps up this edition of The Global Reality. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Please support our work. We have chip-in banners there for our work. We need to get some money in for the film budget this week. We have a donate button. You can put any amount up to $10,000 a day in there. You can become a subscriber and have that amount taken out of your account every month. You can send a check or money order to our P.O. Box, which is listed there at the website as well. Or you can go to our Amazon.com wish list. Even better, if you don't want to make a cash donation, pick something off our list there. It'll get mailed directly to me, no fuss. And those are items up there that we have to push forward the radio show, the films, and everything else. So help us out in any way that you can. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we will see you back here next time for the broadcast. You guys have yourselves a great one. Take care.